stone to the PMP, or otherwise an entry point into project management as a whole. And then we have some certifications that focus more on the idea of Agile project management, which is a methodology that focuses on being able to deliver results quickly and flexibly. So we have the DASM, the Discipline Agile Scrum Master, which is kind of the entry point to what is Agile and start of learning about some of the different methodologies there. And then we have the ACP, the Agile Certified Practitioner, which is meant more so for an experienced professional with at least 2 years of experience working on Agile projects.
So I have a little question for you on this. So what would you call a Jedi that uses Agile methodology? Rebel scum. Rebel scrum.
Okay. Yeah.
Right,
So there we go.
right.
Yeah.
Okay, it's project management.
All right.
So,
So I'll go
our
over
next person up. Yep.
Yeah. So I'll go over I'll describe what the CPHIMS, the CAHIMS, and the new digital health certification are. So the realm of HIMSS really looks at healthcare technology, the information technology side, and then the healthcare side, general information on how healthcare systems work and how healthcare is managed within hospitals, clinics, skilled nursing facilities, private practice, public practice. It's kind of the broad range. It also covers clinical informatics. This is the using data within the healthcare realm. It also covers implementation and design of electronic health records. So kind of the broad range from the initiation of when an EHR is needed, all the way over to maintenance and security and privacy and those types of things that are used for maintenance of healthcare systems. They also look at management and leadership as far as the types of things that you need to know as an informaticist in terms of how to do projects, how to lead teams, how to get people engaged, and how to do change management. So there's a broad spectrum of skills that's in the healthcare, the informatics disciplines, the informatics certificates. The CPHIMS is for experienced informaticists that have been doing this for a while. The CAHIMS is for people that are just entering in, that want to demonstrate their proficiency. And then the new digital health, it's basically been baited out this summer. There's a group going through, and it really is focusing on the transformation to digital health, looking at those types of organizations that are moving toward more of a digital health platform. So that's what those certifications are after.
Wonderful. Thank you, Eric.
And I'll talk about the RHIA and RHIT, which is the Registered Health Information Administrator and the Registered Health Information Technician. So starting with the Registered Health Information Technician, the minimum requirement for this would be an associate's degree. And so what these are good for, these are primarily for new professionals. You've got your associate's degree, or you have your initial bachelor's degree, and you're trying to launch into health information management or informatics as a career. And so most employers will be looking to see that you have one of these. Not that your degree is not enough, it's just these are very specific on those particular skills that you need. And in terms of jobs and where you fall on each of these, for RHITs, you can expect to do more in data analytics, release of information, coding, medical healthcare records. And then for the RHIA, the minimum requirement is a bachelor's degree or the equivalent. You can look at the AHIMA website. There's descriptions of parameters of acceptance. This puts you more into healthcare leadership, project management, which RHIA would put you on a project management. You're not necessarily going to do that with the RHIT. And then also with the RHIA, you're looking at healthcare data governance and also data analytics. So that's what you can expect from each of those certifications.
Very good, very good. And on time. Most impressive. Okay. I imagine that we've got just another 2 minutes, so I'm just gonna elaborate on this one a little bit. So Hattie, would you say that in those roles, you would also be looking at life cycle management of the healthcare record itself as part of the governance and part of
Correct.
the taking
Yes.
care of, yeah. And we may touch on this later, but do you think that AI is going to take over any of that governance automatically? Or do you think there'll always be some human intervention there?
So I didn't speak about this, but I'm moving into IT, like mainstream IT and cybersecurity. So what I'm finding from my personal experience, there's a lot of talk about AI taking over things, but it's not really going to happen. It's just what will happen is those roles will morph into something else. There's the human element, in my opinion, is never going to be non-existent. I think as humans, we like the idea of thinking that we're going to lose something, but the AI has to be programmed. The human element will always be there. So I think as these roles and these certifications are evolving, if you look at the RHIA and RHIT 5 years ago, it's evolved a lot to focus more on analytics because that's where the world is moving.
Right.
And so at some point, who knows, we might have elements of AI, and maybe healthcare professionals might need to learn some Python and maybe,
Right.
I don't know where, but I
Or
don't
they may
think the
be
human
governing the language models that feed the AI, right?
Correct,
Which was probably the more practical route.
element.
And that would also be a new arm of governance that an RH, IT or IA may need to venture into. Exciting times. All right. Look at that. Perfect. We're ready to move on to our next question. Hope you're all ready. I don't necessarily have enough jokes for all of them, but I'll certainly try. All right, our next question.
Sorry.
Yep, that's okay.
Oh, it was a little, it just,
We've got backup. This is risk management. All right, so our next question is regarding preparation, prerequisites, and qualifications. So this is a two-part question. First part, what is the typical time and effort required to prepare and complete the certification? We'll do a speed round on that and then come back with the second part. Why don't we start with you, Eric?
Okay, so HIMSS recommends that you take 13 weeks to study for either the CAHIMS or the CPHIMS. So that's what their recommendation is. It kind of depends on how much you know.
Excellent, excellent answer. All right. And how about for the PMP or other tracks?
Yeah, so-
CAPM or whatever.
And it really kind of varies depending on which specific certification you're talking about. For CAPM or the DASM, which are kind of our more entry point certifications, you could say anywhere from 10 to 20 hours of study. They're generally considered a little more basic foundational knowledge, but really the PMP being kind of our flagship, I would say on average that takes anywhere from 100 to 200 hours of study.
Or 400 if you're me.
And again, it is largely a personal journey. Some people take courses that guide you through it. Some people do solo study. But generally speaking, I would expect 200 hours is probably a pretty safe bet.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. And just for those who aren't aware, the reason why it's not an entry point, you have to actually have years of experience that you need to prove and quantify in leading projects before you can even apply to take the exam.
It's an intense audit too.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Let's not talk about that. I'm traumatized. Okay, second part. Oh, you didn't answer the first one. Okay, so what's the typical time and effort for those art?
So AHIMA recommends for each of these certs to plan for about 2 months and about 2 months, 10 hours a week. And again, for anybody that has done certifications, there's the recommended time, then there's your time. You could There's people that would do it in a month, there's people that would do it in 6 months. It just depends on how prepared you are. I would totally recommend that you do it right after your bachelor's.
Oh, yeah.
If you wait too long, then it might take you longer, so.
You know, it's like dust on those books on the shelf, right? That's what, anyway. Right. Part B, our second part of this question. Any prerequisites or recommended qualifications for pursuing the certification?
Okay, so for the CAHIMS, it's meant to be more of an entry level, but you have to have a body of knowledge. You have to have so many hours of, they call it continuing education. This can be a bachelor's or certificate, but it's something where you study healthcare informatics, a formalized study of this. One of the things that HIMSS offers is they offer a prep course for this that you can take, and it really goes over the parts of it that are included in the test so that you can self-select and figure out what do I know and what do I don't know. So those are that's kind of the entry level into it. You don't have to do the review class. You can just step right in after studying, but you do need those hours of training for the CAHIMS. For the CPHIMS, it's kind of on a graduated scale. If you have a master's degree, you need less on the job hours. For a bachelor's degree, you need a little bit more on the job hours. And if you have a high school education, I think you need 10 years on the job. But it's a nice thing to have because some people have been doing this for a while. Some people have been doing informatics. They kind of came up through the ranks, and we're not making anybody go back and say, oh, you got to go back and get your bachelor's. If you stuck it out for 10 years in the informatics field and you know of enough, then that's where you can go and get your CPHIMS. So it's really meant to be kind of a level of proficiency, and it's graduated for the CPHIMS.
So it sounds to me like that's an industry leveling way to go about those certifications so that people are coming in from different entry points and levels of experience. Some can fast track it with their background experience, and others, they just do a little bit more upfront work, but they're a little bit shorter on the experience side.
Yeah, I like it because in the world of informatics, a lot of informatics training hasn't been around for a terribly long time. And so some people just learned it as they went. They came up through the ranks and they become experts as they go. And so it really speaks to the audience. It really tries to look at who they're speaking to. And this is the audience right now, is that with the new degrees that are coming up, they're trying to say, okay, we've got bachelors, we've got masters, but the people that didn't do it, they don't have to be penalized for this, for catching up. So it's a good example of industry leveling.
Excellent.
Yeah, so kind of starting with our entry point certifications, the CAPM and the DASM, neither of those have a sort of experiential requirement. The CAPM does have a what we call contact educational hours requirement, where you have to have done some amount of formal study or training, whether that's a certified course or we have sort of self-paced online courses that you can take through the PMI. But really, the requirements are generally pretty low for those certifications. With the ACP, our Agile Certified Practitioner, that's intended more so for someone that has practical experience working in Agile projects, not necessarily as the lead, but really just being on an Agile team. So really, that's looking for 8 months of experience in Agile projects within the last 3 years. The PMP is definitely our highest requirement, as you had kind of brought up earlier, and it is on a similar kind of graduated scale. If you have a bachelor's degree or higher, it requires 36 months of leading projects within the last 8 years. With a high school degree or an associate's, it would require, I believe it is 60 months, so 5 years of experience leading projects. And the way that we actually track that time is a little bit unique. It's specifically non-overlapping time
Yes.
leading projects. So if you were leading a project from January to May on one project, and a second project was running from March to July, you have several months in there that you cannot double up on. So it is a pretty stringent requirement, and again, is kind of intended as more of that capstone, achievement for someone that has that professional experience as a project manager. And I guess to clarify, it doesn't require the title of project manager.
No.
It really is about leading these initiatives, not
Mhm.
a job title.
Yeah.
When I qualified for mine, I had many of those years leading those projects, just in the field of IT, back when I was more so in the front lines of direct IT support,
Mhm.
and was not officially recognized as a project manager, but it really is about that practical experience, as opposed to the title.
And I think that that's true in almost any role in informatics. You are going to be part of a formal project team, or HIM, any role in there, you will be part of a project team in some way. So knowing how projects work, their life cycle, the different techniques. Agile, you'll see more in a development shop with building of custom workflows or technology or apps, things of that nature. But basically, when you hear the word Agile, just think iterative. They're going to go through it in little sprints. Okay, and one more on this one.
For the RHIT, like I mentioned before, the entry requirements are a little strict, so you need the associate's degree, and I think the reason for that is, medical and healthcare field has, the technical, the terminology and all that. So if you've done your associate or bachelor's, you have that down. So now you can take your RHIT to work on your technical skills. If you had your bachelor's degree, then you can also have your RHIA, which prepares you for leadership and for administration and project management. So then you could do the RHIA. So basically, that's really the difference. One is more for leadership, the other one is more for technical skills.
Very good. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to our next question, which is related to study materials and other resources. And we'll do it backwards this time so that you get a little bit more time in the sunshine there. So what resources or study materials do you recommend for preparing for the certification exam? And is there ongoing support or mentorship available for individuals pursuing that certification or maintaining it?
I'll start with the last bit of mentorship. So at HIMSS, we have several people on the board or who are on the board before, or our members that have taken this certification. So in terms of membership and guidance, that's where I would point to those people to kind of throw some light on how easily you could pursue these certifications. In terms of materials, AHIMA provides details of materials and points you to the materials that will basically lead you to success in passing these certifications. So I strongly recommend you stick to AHIMA recommendations. There are other resources on like YouTube and those places. You're free to look there, but I would strongly recommend you check with AHIMA.
Yeah, also because if you know you're using AHIMA documentation, if there's been anything that's changed recently, it's not stale data, it's fresh, it's current. Thank you.
Yeah, so really there's kind of a lot of different avenues that you could go down for materials to get you ready for our certifications. One of the big ones that the Project Management Institute offers and maintains is the PMBOK, which is the Project Management Book of Knowledge, currently on the 7th edition, a very large book, effectively just a textbook about project management. I want to say it's like 400 pages long, and it covers all of the various parts of a project, from how to plan it, how to budget it, how to manage risk, how to work with a project team, how to manage stakeholders, really that whole process front to back. And while reading through a textbook will get you the information. It's not always the easiest way to prepare for a test. So we actually do have quite a different options offered through PMI directly. If Ibrahim was here, he would be happy to tell you, but he actually runs a weekly study group for the PMP that is open to all of the Puget Sound PMI members. We have sort of groups involved for helping people study. We have through the PMI a self-guided study tool that will kind of walk you through all the different parts of what's going to be on the test. There's flashcards built in, quizzes that you can take, full practice exams that you can take, where it'll tell you what areas you could improve in. We have online courses, live courses offered. We're actually looking at setting up some in-person boot camps for PMP study later this year. So really the PMI, I think, has a lot of great avenues available for both the PMP and for the other certifications. So really, I would kind of start looking there, and it's not necessarily required that you be a member. You can absolutely look at any of those options as a member or not, although there are some benefits that you would get from membership.
Awesome. Well, it sounds like the mentorship and tools for supporting the education and certs is definitely a win.
Yeah, that's definitely an area we're really putting a lot of focus in, and we're really trying to expand those offerings. This upcoming year, we have a lot of plans in the works.
Nice. Thank you. Eric?
So I've really dug into what HIMSS has to offer, because we went through a certification process about a year ago where Bellevue College became an approved education partner. And then I went through the certification of getting my CPHIMS and also becoming a certified trainer in that. And so where I basically have a drinking from the fire hose type of education on what they have to offer. And currently HIMSS they have a review course that they either do in person, and you have to find somewhere that's sponsoring a certified class on this. It's a 10-hour class where they go over all the different methodologies. And the idea of this review class is they cover it at kind of a high level so that you get a sense of, do I know this? Do I not know this? So that you can kind of dig down into those subject areas that you don't know. They also have a study guide, a written study guide for the CAHIMS or the CPHIMS that they offer through the website. And then they also have I think it's a 60-hour class recorded by Alliant University, where Carnegie Mellon and Alliant University have kind of gotten together to give a online recorded asynchronous class on the topics. If you want to go through and study yourself, they don't have a book of knowledge like PMI has. They're talking about putting together one in the future, but right now they've got it. If you go to their study materials, they got about 8 books that are encapsulating their material. And if you study the study guide and you go back and the things that you don't know, you read through the texts, you're going to get that, you're going to be that prepared for the CAHIMS or the CPHIMS. They have a couple of programs that are ready, but it's really about either doing it asynchronous online, finding a group that does it. HIMSS also has a Zoom session they offer once a year for CAHIMS and once a year for CPHIMS, or you can do it by book. I've done, when I was studying for my PMP, I did it all by book. And when I was studying for the CPHIMS, I did it really through going through a lot of the materials that we submitted through our approved education partner. So they also have a study test, which is it was an interesting journey, because the study test, they basically do an at-home test. A new offering through HIMSS is where you can take the certification at home, but you have to go through a process where you scan your camera around to make sure that you don't have any notes around, and then you have a camera on yourself while you're taking the test, and then you're actually taking the time test while you're there. So it's a very, the practice test is set up the same way. It's a very interesting process. I would rather go in, and I took the test through the Pearson View down at Northgate, and they're really professional, and it's really kind of nice to do it in another location. So that's what I would recommend, doing it at Pearson View rather than doing it yourself. But it was interesting doing the practice test on your own.
Awesome. I had to write the PMP during COVID, so I had to do the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
I was trying to do my data dump, and I'm looking up at the ceiling, trying to recall, and they had me flip my camera up to show the ceiling because they thought I had put sheet notes on the side. Whatever.
Yeah, I had to do the same thing. I had a bookshelf with like a bunch of board games and stuff on it. They did not like that.
Crazy. All right. So our next topic is enhancing career prospects. So our question is, how does obtaining the certification enhance my career prospects in healthcare informatics? And again, I'm going to start with you.
So the certifications, again, get you in the door, and then I strongly encourage, if you're still a student, you should definitely be networking, like coming to events like this, going to events, if AHIMA is hosting events. If SHIMA is hosting events, we put on 4 or 5 workshops a year. You're welcome to those. WASHIMA, the Washington State Level Healthcare Information Management Association, also puts on events. So places like that, you get to interact with professionals in the field. You get to ask questions you may have. You also get to learn what employers are looking for. And usually if you have your RHIA or RHIT, it's a sign that you're ready to go. If you don't have it, then usually they might ask, hey, have you considered taking your RHIA or RHIT? Because it is needed if you are trying to get into HIM. So does that answer the question?
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, so I guess to answer that question, really the way I look at it with some of our entry-level certifications, so the CAPM and the DASM, those are really about building up your foundation with project management. And I'm hoping maybe you two can kind of help with some of the healthcare informatics specific experience. But really my experience, because I've worked in education, I've worked in IT, I've worked in software. Project management is a skill that's valuable in almost every industry.
Absolutely.
And I think a lot of people don't really recognize that until they either end up in a project without someone kind of pushing things forward and kind of taking hold of the reins. The CAPM and the DSM are about building up that foundational knowledge of what does it mean to be a project manager or to work with a project manager, and how can you, effectively deliver value to your business. The ACP and the PMP are a little more directly about demonstrating, that experience that you've had as a professional, leading project teams or being a part of, I guess more specifically, Agile project teams, which, I guess if you're going more in the technical route of healthcare informatics, that would probably be a little more applicable. But the PMP in particular, I believe the statistic is, the PMI has found on average a 30% higher median salary for project managers that actively hold a PMP as opposed to otherwise. And it's because it demonstrates that superior understanding of how to run a project in various different forms. And outside of that, it even shows an understanding of leadership with a project team, how to work with people, how to work with different stakeholders. So C-suite executives or customers or the team members that you're actually having drive the project forward. So being able to say that you have those certifications really helps tell a story about the skill set that you've built up. And as you move down the line and get some of those higher level certifications, about the experiences that you've had throughout your career.
That's really good information. I completely concur with that. And being a healthcare IT project manager, every single person on the team adds value. And the project manager doesn't know the expertise that all of the people on the team do, But if the team doesn't know anything about project management, they may not know to call their hand up if they see risk or they see collisions or dependency issues. If you don't know anything about project management. I remember the first time I worked with a project manager in healthcare IT, I was an analyst. And I'm like, who is this guy? And why is he bossing my calendar around? And had I known a little bit more, then I wouldn't have been taken by surprise or like affronted. So thank you. Yeah, good feedback, good information for everyone. Eric?
Okay, so currently in informatics, you don't need a certification. You know, it's not regulated yet. We're not there to the point where we say you have to have a certification. So there's no requirement yet. Unofficially, there's some organizations that say you must have a PMP to do this job. If I were to pull up project manager jobs, I would probably see on probably about 20%, you must have a PMP. That demonstrates your level of proficiency. What I'm seeing out there in the current job market is that they're not saying you're required to get a CPHIM, or you're not required to have a CPHIMS or CAHIMS, but you're required to get one. I've gone out there and about 5 jobs of the 50 that I was looking at said within 6 months, you must get, there's an expectation of getting the certification after you've got the job. So the current state is that we're probably going to see companies lean into the certification as a level of competency. And that's what we need to promote. Just getting a certification, just going, you're taking the test. It's not a golden ticket for a job. Nobody's going out and saying, who has the CPHIMS? We got to go hire them. Nobody is saying that. You've got to use this to market yourself. You've got to say, I was able to show my proficiency on an exam, on a world-class exam that demonstrates proficiency and my knowledge and the ability to apply it. It's just like anything on your resume. If you go out and get a degree, you know, just because you have a degree, nobody's going to hunt you down and give you a job. You have to leverage it. You have to use it. If you get a PMP or an RHIT, you have to be able to promote these things to an employer to go out and get a job. It will increase your chances because you have something that you can demonstrate, but you have to use it. You have to market it. You have to market yourself. And building your brand about your certification helps demonstrate to an employer, yes, I can do it. And it's something that's very viable too. It's not just your word. It's actually something they say that somebody, an organization like HIMSS has said, yes, they have passed and recognized for this qualification.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not a barrier to a barrier to work yet. It might be in the future. Organizations might say you must have a CAHIMS, you must have a CPHIMS. But at this point, it's really a marketing thing for yourself to be able to market yourself to employers.
Absolutely. There's a lot of things going on in healthcare that people just kind of walking in from other industries may not be aware of. Like if you're on a healthcare EMR implementation, your decisions affect life and death. You know, that's not going to happen if you're implementing a new service line in a candy shop.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Well, I guess if the candy was really bad, it would be. But, you know, it also shows tenacity for you as an individual, your, you know, aspirations that you're willing to learn. And in this, we're out of time. In this day and age, it's really any of our information that we know and we can recite is going to be stale in a minute. Having the ability to learn, having the ability to know where to get information that's fresh and relevant, that's the key. So showing these initiatives is definitely going to make you stand out in the crowd. Moving on. Personal success from certifications. Can you share your personal experience with this certification and how it impacted your career? How about some success stories or examples of professionals who've significantly benefited from holding this certification? I can tell you one now, because I'm highly caffeinated. After getting my PMP, although I have so many, a lot of depth of years in industry and in leading projects, I was able to negotiate a 5-digit increase in salary to become market level. So that was a bit of a flex, but it provided me, that's how well recognized the PMP is. It's international and it's a very discerning test. I'm sure that all of these exams are of the same caliber. They mean something. When people see it, they know it's not fluffy. It's not a cotton candy certificate, So I just spoke for you, I'm sorry. But
No, yeah.
go ahead, Eric.
Oh, okay. So, basically, I'm gonna step back in my PMP certification. After I got my PMP certification, I began teaching